We are on the record calling State versus Brooks, 21 CF 1848. I have the state appearing by District Attorney Sue Opper, Deputy District Attorney Leslie Basie, Assistant District Attorney Zach Witchow, and I have the defendant Darrell Brooks appearing in person. I have the jurors coming in a little bit later today, but they usually come early, so I'm not sure if they're here. But I did want to make sure and ask if there's anything the parties wished me to address this morning.
Would just like to make a record with regard to the concern Mr. Brooks had yesterday about the juror that he believed he recognized from his initial appearance that may have made some type of hand gesture to him.
My understanding is that following what Mr. Brooks described happening at the initial appearance, there was a woman that one of the deputies spoke with and warned her. It's my understanding that woman may have been in the gallery on Monday and was warned about behavior then. I have issued an order. She is not allowed back in these proceedings because of that. I believe we know her identity, and I can tell you with certainty it is not our juror. Any requests as it relates to that, Mr. Brooks?
Before I get to that whole issue, Your Honor, if I may, I would like to state for the record and would like the record to reflect that I personally don't identify by that name. I am here as a third-party intervener in that matter, appearing as an authorized representative for my client. I accept for value, in return for value, all the charging instruments in this matter and make my exemption available for discharge of all obligations and charges connected with this case. I do not dispute any of the facts in the charging instruments.
Your statements are noted for the record. All right, as to the issue of the juror?
As far as the issue of the juror, I was maybe briefly present when the first wave of jurors were brought in. I didn't recall really being in here long enough to really get a look at the jurors coming in because I was removed at that time. Actually, either they were coming in or shortly after they were brought in, I was removed. I definitely was not present for the second and third wave. I was in the other courtroom, so I can't see the jurors from the other courtroom on the monitor, so it wouldn't possibly be that I would have seen the juror that I was referring to yesterday.
Understanding that that may very well be true, I am advising you that the juror that you suspected was the woman who made an inappropriate gesture toward you at the initial appearance. They are not the same individuals. I know the identity of the woman who did what you said, and it is not this juror.
Is there any way that I can be sure of that?
I can bring that juror out when the jurors get here, and we can have her under oath testify that she was not at your initial appearance or any of the proceedings in this case.
That would be helpful, Your Honor.
Can we check to see where they're at and if they're here? And if so, to have that juror brought out.
I'm not interrupting, Emma. I would like to state for the record, prosecution seems to be saying this with firsthand knowledge.
Referring to the issue we're talking about right now?
Correct, Your Honor.
Is there a question with that? I'm not understanding why you're raising that at this moment.
Well, I'm raising it because the prosecution said that, and they stated that they knew for a fact that this juror is not the juror that I'm speaking of.
I said that.
Well, the prosecution said it too, Your Honor.
What you said happened, but it's not this juror. But we're going to bring that juror out just so you can, or I will, question her about that and whether one of the jurors on this panel was at your initial appearance and made an inappropriate gesture can be put to bed once and for all so that you're satisfied they are two different people, okay?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Go ahead. She can just sit in one of the spots in the jury box. You are not in trouble. We just have had an issue come up and we wanted to make sure we all had accurate information. At any point in time, did you attend any of the proceedings in this matter regarding Mr. Brooks? No. Were you ever at the initial appearance for Mr. Brooks? No. State have any follow-up based on that?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Brooks, any follow-up based on what I've asked this juror?
No.
Mr. Brooks, we brought out juror number 41. Was that the same juror that you initially suspected was someone who was at your initial appearance?
Yes, Your Honor.
She told us she wasn't there, and I trust that satisfies your inquiry into this issue.
I'm still a little leery, but I say that. I'm not interrupting them.
Go ahead.
I say that because I don't forget faces. I don't.
I understand what you're saying, but the record is made clear, and I'll make a finding that juror number 41 was not at your initial appearance and is not the person who made an inappropriate gesture to you either at or following that hearing. All right, then any other issues from the state?
Just briefly, from yesterday's testimony, we'd like to move into evidence exhibit 1, which was the map Exhibit 3, which was the video played during Corey Runkle's testimony, and Exhibit 5, which is the photograph of Erica Patterson.
Any objection?
Yes, Your Honor. I guess it would be to the terms of relevancy. There's been no testimony from Ms. Patterson, so I'm just curious to know the relevancy of that being made evidence at this point in time, because from what was said yesterday was that she would be testifying at some point. Would it not be better to have that admitted then if she decides to testify instead of right now when we're not even sure if she is going to testify?
Your objections are noted for the record. There was a proper foundation regarding each one of these exhibits. They are relevant to the issues within this trial, and I'll admit Exhibits 1, 3, and 5, and also advise the jury when they come back into court.
Your Honor, I'm not interrupting, am I?
Hold on, I'm not to you yet. If there are any issues, any other issues from the state.
Yes, Your Honor, I would just like the record to indicate that I understand we did not follow up with this after the lunch break on the record, but it was my understanding that Mr. Brooks did receive the medical attention that he was seeking over the lunch hour. So I just wanted that on the record. And then finally, Your Honor, just a reminder to Mr. Brooks as to the other acts evidence. In line with his questioning of Corey Runkle yesterday, Erica Patterson will be testifying here this morning. The court issued a ruling as to the other acts evidence. The state strictly abided by that. Mr. Brooks came very close several times to opening the door to that testimony. The court warned him twice. Mr. Witchow even personally went over and warned Mr. Brooks during Ms. Runkle's testimony. And before we start another round of challenges potentially during Ms. Patterson's testimony, we just wanted to make a record of that so that Mr. Brooks knows if he opens the door to that other act's testimony, it will come in.
Mr. Brooks, did you see the jail nurse or other medical personnel during the lunch hour yesterday?
Yes, I did. I received a cleaning of my cut and a bandage.
All right, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was getting to the other parts of the injuries. They viewed the bruises that I have on my arm and legs as well. I don't know what's going to happen behind that, but I was looked at.
Does not appear to me that any of these injuries are interfering in any way with your ability to be here today.
Yeah, I'm just a little tender, just a little sore. So,
Mr. Brooks, do you understand what the state is referencing as it relates to the other act's evidence?
I do not understand.
Do you recall being in court at the end of August when the court addressed a number of motions, including a motion brought by the state to admit other acts?
With all respect, Your Honor, this whole process is very, very new to me. So I'm trying to, I guess, stay within bounds of the questions that I'm allowed to ask. If I color outside the line, so to speak, it is not intentionally, because I'm basically learning as I go.
So I'm going to have my clerk print out the motion for other acts that was filed by the state, along with the response that was filed by your attorneys at that time, and further advise you the court did not grant the state's request to admit other acts as it relates to your conduct with Erica Patterson prior to November 21 of 2021. And your questions yesterday of Ms. Runkle could have opened the door to the court revisiting that issue. That's why the court stopped. It was interesting. Ms. Runkle clearly was advised not to talk about other acts. The state followed the requirement that they advise their witnesses about the court's order as it relates to other acts. At one point, Attorney Witchow also came over, muted your microphone. I don't know what was said, but my understanding is he basically kind of gave you the same caution, and I know you didn't proceed with the questions that you had originally attempted to ask this witness. You can ask those questions. You're not prohibited, but then you potentially open the door to that information becoming admissible in this case.
I'd just like to say that I accept for value and return for value these filings. I do believe that I have a little bit more clarity, if that helps.
Do you have any other issues you want me to address?
Just very, very quick. I still don't understand the nature and cause of the charges against me, Your Honor, and I still would motion for, or tennis motion for the jurisdiction to be proven, the subject matter jurisdiction. And also motion for finding of fact.
Your requests are all noted for the record, and for the reasons previously stated on this record, I'm not going to answer those requests any further. Anything else, sir?
I'm not interrupting, am I?
No, I'm asking you a question.
Just for the record, Your Honor, I would like the record to reflect, is that a judicial determination that you are making?
The record speaks for itself. I've made my decision. We're moving on. With that, then, state have a witness available.
We do. Would you also just make a record, Your Honor, this morning that Mr. Brooks does appear again in his orange jail uniform and that he was offered the ability to wear street clothes and declined that offer? Also, he does have appears to have all of his discovery materials at the table with him.
Yes, thank you. I should make a record of that. I presume, Mr. Brooks, but please confirm for me you were offered the opportunity to change into street clothes.
As I stated on the record yesterday, I'm waiting for the results of the COVID test that I took. So until I get those results back, I would prefer to not wear street clothes at this time.
Can you confirm for me, though, that you were provided an opportunity to change into them if you so chose?
And not to my knowledge.
Sir, I'm providing you with that opportunity right now. If you would like to change into your street clothes, into the suit and tie that you had previously, or any other street clothes, I would give you that opportunity.
I might consider it. Maybe I may have more information from the medical staff once we take a break, or maybe I'm anticipating. Well, actually, I anticipated that I would know before we even started court.
Do you want me to have the bailiffs ask the CO if there's any new information that can be relayed to you before we bring the jury out?
That would be helpful, Your Honor.
Do you have any objection? I could email the jail administrator if you want, or I can just simply have the bailiffs do that.
Whichever works best for Your Honor.
If there's new information, then it's going to have to be given to you directly. That may require you to be taken into the holding cell.
I'm okay with that.
I will make a record that Mr. Brooks does have the 3 boxes that have been referenced previously, and I see he has a number of papers in front of him. So he looks as if he's prepared to participate meaningfully today.
May I say something real quick for the record, Your Honor?
Sure.
I did bring these boxes up. I have not had the time to go through everything in there. As you can see, it's a lot. And that's putting it minimal. A lot. So I have not had the time to go through everything that's in there. I'm winging it, Your Honor.
Right. The information that I have on whether there's new information is they don't have the results, but medical will be called again to check on that. We don't have apparently new information. I intend to just continue then, okay?
Really quick, to the decision of Your Honor for me to be from the proceedings over the last few days, that was used from the Illinois versus Allen, right?
Correct. I also had cited to a case, the United States versus Jennings, as well as, just that one. So the first decision I referenced was a federal district court decision, and then the Third Circuit decision.
Does any one of those mention being present through audio and visual?
Yes, audio.
Would that be
defendant in that case, who also was a pro se defendant, was removed from the courtroom after he said he would continue disruptive conduct in the presence of prospective jurors, but he was able to continue to listen to proceedings through loudspeakers and transmit messages to the court, and the conviction in that case was affirmed. You want that citation again?
No, I'm not interrupting, am I?
No, go ahead.
I do represent myself pro per. I would like that stated for the record. Like the record to reflect that, not pro se.
The record will so reflect your choice of term to describe your appearance today.
I've briefly read Illinois versus Allen. It didn't give any reference at all to him being present by audio or visual in that case whatsoever. It just strictly talks about the reasons that he was removed and the options that the judge had in that. One of them being that he could be bound and gagged. One of them being that he can be held in contempt and removed from the courtroom while the trial would continue, but it did not say anything about being present visually or audio. Or by audio.
I'm well aware of what the case says, and as that case says, the Supreme Court talked about there would be no one formula for maintaining the appropriate courtroom atmosphere, and no one formula will be best in all situations. But the Supreme Court said this: we think there are at least 3 constitutionally permissible ways for a trial judge to handle an obstreperous defendant like Allen, going through the 3 things that you identify. And my findings here are that there's a 4th way, and I'd like to bring the jury out, and that's what we're going to do next.
I'm interrupting real quick. I just want to say something very quick to that.
Very quick, sir.
I don't see that 4th way, Your Honor. Also, when he
Mr.
talked...
Brooks, my decision stands from previous. If you believe there's any error that I made, that is for you to address if there is a conviction and on appeal. But my decision stands. And the record speaks for itself.
May I put on record that I intend to appeal that judicial decision, Your Honor?
Understood. You may appeal as you deem appropriate.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's bring the jury out. I will ask everyone stand for the jury out of respect for them. Be seated when you come in. And good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Welcome back. The state may call its next witness.
Thank you. The state calls Erica Patterson.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes, ma'am.
To state your first and last names for the record.
Erica Patterson.
Thank you. Go ahead, your witness.
Thank you. Good morning, Ms. Patterson. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you. Sorry.
All right. Can you tell us, do you know a man by the name of Darrell Brooks?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I'd ask that the court have Mr. Brooks temporarily remove his mask.
Mr. Brooks, you're advised to remove your mask, please. Thank you.
Ms. Patterson, do you see Darrell Brooks in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Can you tell us where he's sitting and what he's wearing?
On the left side, and he's wearing an orange shirt and a mask.
I'd ask the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant.
The record will reflect that this witness has identified the defendant.
I want to direct your attention to the date of November 21st, 2021.
Yes.
Describe for us what happened when Mr. Brooks first arrived in Frame Park, when you first saw him that day.
We were still arguing, pretty much. He was already in a bad mood when he met up with me anyway.
This is an argument that face-to-face, using words, not messaging,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Did you get in the vehicle?
Yes.
Okay, and what happened next?
We drove around, we were arguing, and that's when we got into the altercation in the car, and that's when I jumped out. We were up the hill.
Do you remember exactly the route that the two of you took while you were driving around?
Objection, relevancy.
Overruled.
I'm not sure the exact street names. I do know the route.
The next day you met with Detective Steve Guth, is that right?
Yes.
You got in a squad car with Detective Guth
Oh, that was the next day, yes. Sorry.
and showed him the route that you took with Mr. Brooks?
Yes, I did.
You described going up a hill, right?
Yes.
What happened once you got up at the top of the hill?
He drove up farther more, and then that's when I jumped. It was on the up the hill, it was farther more, and then that's when he hit me, and I jumped out of his car.
Where were you sitting when he hit you?
The passenger side front seat,
What did he use to hit you?
his hand.
What did you do after Mr. Brooks struck you?
I cried, and then I just jumped out of the car. And then going towards down the hill, that's when he was following me.
Describe how you were going down the hill.
Walking,
And how was he going down the hill?
driving.
What happened next?
He just followed me all the way to the park.
Okay.
He tried to take my phone from me at the light going down the hill, and he just kept following me and arguing with me out the window.
Do you recall being near a gas station while this argument was happening?
Yes.
Objection, irrelevant.
Overruled.
Hey, Ms. Patterson, I've projected on the screen in front of you a video marked as State's Exhibit number 4. Do you see the screen?
Yes.
Have you seen this video before?
Yes.
What does it depict, or what's in this video? What are we going to see here?
You're going to see me walking, and you're going to see him turning the car back around and Corey meeting up with me in the altercation they had.
Does this video accurately show what happened in front of the White Rock School on November 21st of 2021?
Yes.
I move Exhibit 4 into evidence and request permission to publish.
Any objections?
Yes, we haven't even played the video. How do we know what's even in the video at this point? Can we see the video before it is admitted into evidence?
Your objection is noted. The foundation has been laid. Exhibit 4 is received.
Let's pause. We saw a red SUV, right?
Yes.
Who was driving that SUV?
Darrell Brooks.
Was there anybody else in the vehicle at that point, to your knowledge?
Nope.
Okay, let's resume playing. Let's pause there. The two people who just entered the screen from the right, do you know who they are?
Corey and Nick.
Let's resume playing. Okay, let's pause there. We watched the video, but you were there. Can you tell us what was happening during that portion of the video we just watched?
Corey and Mr. Brooks were arguing, and that's when he pushed her in her face. One of them, I think it was Nick, called the police, and that's when he drove off.
Do you remember what Nick said when he called the police?
I believe Nick said he had a knife, if I recall, but he didn't have one, but that's what Nick said on the phone.
When you say he, who are you talking about?
Darrell Brooks.
And you didn't see Mr. Brooks with a knife that day?
No.
What about Nick? Did you see him with a knife?
No.
Did you have a knife?
No.
Corey?
No.
Why do you think Nick said to the police that there was a knife?
Probably to make them come faster.
Let's resume playing from 6:03. And we can stop it there. Can we please pull up for the witness only, Exhibit 5?
Objection. Why is that for witness? Oh, sorry.
You recognize this photograph?
Yes.
Ms. Patterson?
Yes.
And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump ahead there. I'm assuming that Mr. Brooks withdrew that objection.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was my understanding, and appreciate that. Okay, go ahead.
And I believe actually Exhibit 5 has already been received and published again.
Permission granted.
I object. Wasn't it supposed to be for the witness only?
The exhibit's previously been received, and the state requested permission to publish it once again, and I granted that request.
So just so I'm clear, when it's published again, then it's
Correct. When I say permission to publish granted, that means it will be shown to the courtroom and to the jury.
okay. I didn't understand.
That's okay.
That's all I have for this witness.
All right, thank you. Mr. Brooks, do you have any questions for this witness?
Yes, I do. First of all, good morning.
Good morning.
And happy birthday.
Thank you.
You stated that you were hanging out with your friend, Miss Corey, on the day of this incident, correct?
Yes.
Would it be fair to say that you were hanging out drinking?
Yes.
Would it also be fair to say that occasionally you drink too much?
Objection.
Sustained.
Would it be fair to say that, well, let me back up. What were you drinking?
A Mike's Hard beverage.
Were you aware that it was said that you were actually drinking vodka?
No.
Hold on. When there's an objection, I need to rule on it first, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Sustained that mischaracterizes the previous testimony.
So it would be fair to say that you were drinking.
Yes.
Would it be fair to say that you were a little intoxicated?
I was not.
How much did you drink that day?
1 of the Mike's Hard alcohol.
And around what time of the day was that?
I don't remember.
Was it shortly before meeting up with the alleged defendant, or was it sometime before?
It was before.
Did you have anything to drink after?
No, I did not.
You stated that you were engaging in a conversation with the alleged defendant via the telephone. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
Texts, phone calls?
Yes.
Were those texts and phone calls, what nature were they of?
Me and Mr. Brooks were arguing throughout the day.
In the texts and phone calls?
Yes, we were.
If the conversation was argumentative, why would you agree to meet up with the alleged defendant?
I do not know.
Do you recall how the meetup was supposed to be set up?
I don't recall.
Did you at any time ask the alleged defendant to meet up with you?
Well, I told Mr. Brooks where I was.
Did you at any time ask to meet up with the alleged defendant?
No, I did not.
So it would be fair to say that the alleged defendant just came where you were?
Yes, I told you where we were, and obviously we were going to hang out. I never told Mr. Brooks to hang out with me. I told him where we were.
So why would, if there was an argumentative conversation prior to you meeting up with the alleged defendant, why would you tell the alleged defendant where you were?
Objection asked and answered.
Sustained.
You just stated that you really don't know the city of Waukesha. Would that be fair to say?
Yes,
So how would you know exactly where you were?
because I was with Corey, and she's familiar with this area.
Would it be fair to say that Corey overheard these conversations between you and the alleged defendant?
Yes, she was my roommate. She heard every conversation almost.
When you say every conversation, what would that refer to?
When she was in the room with me, when I was always talking to her.
So it would be fair to say that you were engaged in conversation with the alleged defendant before you even left the women's shelter?
Yes,
And those argumentative conversations continue into your hanging out?
yes,
Would it be fair to say that that's what led you to drink?
no,
Would it be fair to say you were drinking because that's what you wanted to do?
yes,
Is it true that one of the rules and requirements of being at the women's shelter is no drugs and no alcohol? Would that be fair to say?
yes, but when I was drinking, it was at Frame Park. I was not at the women's shelter.
Would it be fair to say that you knew you had to come back into the women's shelter at some point that day, that they have a curfew?
I made it before curfew.
Let me back up a little bit. You did state that part of the rules and requirements for being in the women's shelter is no drugs and no alcohol, correct?
Yes, it was not in the women's shelter.
That's not what I'm asking. It's part of the requirement and rules of the women's shelter, no drugs, no alcohol.
Yes,
Object asked and answered twice.
Sustained. Next question, Mr. Brooks.
Is there any type of drug and alcohol testing at the women's shelter?
I don't know. No,
No, or you don't know?
I don't know.
Would it be fair to say that if it was found that you were engaging in drugs and alcohol, that you might have lost your place at the women's shelter?
I'll object. I don't see how this is relevant.
Sustained. Next question.
So around what time were you hanging out with Miss Corey, you said?
I don't remember.
Do you remember where you were at?
Frame Park.
Do you remember where in Frame Park?
No,
And approximately at what time did you meet up with the alleged defendant?
I don't remember.
How long were you with the alleged defendant? Do you remember that?
Approximately 30, 35 minutes.
Do you recall what, you said that during this time you were with the alleged defendant that there was a arguing going on. Would that be fair to say?
Yes,
Do you remember what that argument was about?
he was arguing with me about money because I did not bail him out.
You also said that, well, let me back up from that a little bit. If you knew that the conversation was becoming volatile, why did you still meet up with the alleged defendant?
I don't know.
To your knowledge, did the alleged defendant know anything about the city of Waukesha?
Yes,
And what did the alleged defendant know about Waukesha?
he told me, Mr. Brooks told me that his first child's mother lives in Waukesha.
Do you know that to be a fact?
No, that's just what Mr. Brooks told me.
Are you aware that the alleged defendant in fact has no mother of any child that lives in the city of Waukesha?
Objection. If Mr. Brooks wants to testify, he should do so in a different stage of the trial.
Sustained.
Other than what you can recall about what the alleged defendant told you that they knew about Waukesha, how did the alleged defendant meet up with you in the location that you gave?
Mr. Brooks already knew where Frame Park was. Mr. Brooks previously had been to Waukesha plenty of times before. He's told me that.
And when was that told to you, and what conversation? Was it that day?
Before that, I'm not sure which day it was. I just know he knows about Waukesha.
So would it be fair to say that when you told the alleged defendant where you were, that the alleged defendant knew exactly where you were?
Yes.
How would the alleged defendant know that?
Because Mr. Brooks already knew Waukesha, he knew exactly where to go.
Did you at any time give directions where you may have been?
How could I give directions when I barely knew Waukesha myself?
Is that a no?
That's a no, sorry.
That's okay.
if you barely knew Waukesha yourself, where did you get the information of where you were from, where you were at the time of the conversation via telephone?
I left the women's shelter with Corey, and she knows that location. She told me what Frame Park was. I didn't know the name.
And would it be fair to say, assuming from what you just said, that you were with the alleged defendant for approximately around 30 minutes or so?
Yes.
And during that time, did you make any disparaging remarks or anything to entice the argument to escalate?
No.
So you didn't say anything at all during your 30 minutes with the alleged defendant?
No, because I was crying the whole time because Mr. Brooks was yelling at me, arguing with me.
So you said absolutely nothing at all?
I was crying the whole time.
Did you say anything?
No.
A few more questions. You said that during this, well, once you had got out of the vehicle, as you say, you stated that your friend Miss Corey pulled you away from the vehicle because it swerved.
Yes, it was in the video.
You do know that we just saw the video. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, but there's two angles of the video.
Well, we only saw one, so I'm referring to the video that we saw.
Corey pulled me out the way when Mr. Brooks made a U-turn, and you almost swerved into Miss Patterson, which is me.
Would it be fair to say that the video does not show that?
There's different angles, but the video does not show that, the video we watched.
So the video that we just watched, that the jury just saw, there is no swerving of the vehicle and you being pulled back. Would that be fair to
From
say?
that far angle, you can kind of see it, yes.
Would that be fair to say? That
You
there's-
answered the question, Mr. Brooks. Next question.
Do you recall what was said during the altercation between is it Miss Corey and the alleged defendant?
No, I don't remember.
Would it be fair to say that you were standing right there?
Yes, I just don't remember what was being said.
Do you recall reporting anything that may have been said during that incident?
No.
Did you give a statement to anything that may have been said during that incident?
No.
Was anything directed towards you verbally in that incident?
Yes. Corey told Mr. Brooks, don't ever hit my effing friend again. I remember that part. That was in the beginning.
Do you remember anything else that may have been said?
No.
Do you recall anything being said by Nick to the alleged defendant?
No.
Do you recall the alleged defendant saying anything to Nick?
No.
You also stated that right after this incident you talked to law enforcement. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
At any time did you report any abuse?
Yes.
And what did you report?
That you hit me?
And you gave a statement to that effect?
No. Not to that police officer, but the detectives at the women's shelter.
Well, I'm referring to right during,
I don't remember.
after the incident.
I don't remember what I told that police officer.
Just one quick second. I'm reading from the statement, if I may.
You may.
Do you remember what was said by the alleged defendant when that incident ended?
No, I do not remember.
Do you remember reporting in your statement that the last thing he said to me was FUB, erase my number? Do you remember that?
I don't remember.
Would it be fair to say that you reported that this was said?
I don't remember.
Do you remember giving a statement to that effect?
No.
Would it be fair to say that you gave a statement?
No, I don't remember. I gave a statement to the detectives at the women's center.
So
That's
would
what I
it be
remember.
fair? I'm sorry, I didn't know.
You done answering?
Yes.
All right, next question.
Would it be fair to say that your memory is kind of cloudy of that day because you were intoxicated?
No.
There's a lot of things in this statement that you don't seem to remember. Is that fair to say?
It's-
Sustained.
Would it be fair to say that you reported two different incidents?
Yes.
Do you remember the dates of those incidents that you
The
reported?
20th and the 21st.
Would it be fair to say that there was no incident on the 20th?
No.
Would it be fair to say that you were initially not truthful with law enforcement?
No.
Do you recall making a statement to law enforcement on November the 22nd of 2021?
I don't remember. I made this statement on the 21st of the day of the parade when I met the detectives that night.
Do you recall making a second statement the next day? Or the next morning, rather, which would have been the 22nd of November 2021?
Yes, I did actually. Yes, I did.
Do you recall what you reported that day?
I told them about the 20th when I met with Mr. Brooks, and all we did was argue. And you hit me then too.
So you reported incidents for 2 days in a row.
Yes.
Do you recall at any time telling law enforcement that you were not truthful and wanted to be truthful at that point?
No.
So you never made a statement to your knowledge that you fabricated a reported abuse incident?
No.
1 second here, I'm reading from that. To the best of your knowledge, do you remember talking with a detective, I don't want to butcher this name, Your Honor. I don't know how to pronounce it.
You can spell it if that's helpful.
A detective, Behrrendt.
Detective Barrett? Is it a detective or an officer?
It says detective, Your Honor.
Okay, ask your question.
Do you remember speaking with that detective?
Yes.
Do you remember what you reported to that detective?
I don't remember.
I'm reading directly from the statement, Your Honor, if I may.
Ask your question.
Do you remember reporting to that detective saying you were not completely forthright with all of the information that you had given because you were afraid to get other people involved in your drama or your business?
I don't remember that.
And I'll object and move to strike based on the fact that I think I'm safe in saying that that is not from the report which the defendant is referring to.
The objection is sustained. I'll grant the motion to strike by the state.
Your Honor, quick question on that. I'm reading directly from the report.
Next question, Mr. Brooks.
Just 1 second, Your Honor. I apologize for that, Your Honor. Do you remember at any time speaking with Officer Guth?
Yes.
Do you recall on what date that was?
November 21st.
Do you remember what you reported on November the 21st?
That me and Mr. Brooks, I met with Mr. Brooks at Frame Park. Me and Mr. Brooks got into an altercation. You hit me. I jumped out of your car and I walked and met my friend Corey. You followed me. And then after that, Nick and Miss Corey, they called the police officer. And then you drove off.
Just 1 second, Your Honor. Do you recall reporting to Officer Guth that you were not completely forthright with the information that you reported?
I don't remember. And no, actually, no, I did not say that. I apologize.
So reading from what was reported to Officer Guth states that what I learned from Erica Patterson was that when I spoke to her on the previous evening with Officer Barrett, was that the pronunciation, Your Honor? I'm sorry.
I don't have it in front of me. I'm not sure.
She was not completely forthright with all of the information she had given. Would that be fair to say?
What was your question?
Do you recall in your reporting to Officer Guth that you were not forthright with the information that you gave?
No, I don't recall that.
So to the best of your recollection, at any time that you reported incidents to any law enforcement, at any time do you recall being untruthful?
No.
So do you remember the date and time of the first incident that you allege?
I don't remember the time, but it was November 20th.
Do you remember what time of day that may have been?
I just said I don't remember.
Do you remember where you were at?
Frame Park.
So would it be fair to say that both alleged incidents that you are alleging happened at Frame Park?
The second incident on November 21st did not happen on Frame Park. We were driving around and he hit me.
What
The
I'm
first
asking
incident.
is where you were at when you met up.
Frame Park, yes.
On
That's
both-
not what you
on both
just
alleged
said.
occasions?
Yes. That's how Mr. Brooks knew where Frame Park is. He already knew Waukesha area in the first place.
Same park.
Yes.
Do you remember where you were at in Frame Park?
No, it was in the parking lot. The first side of the parking lot. Kind of by the baseball field, I think that is. If that is the baseball field.
Do you recall who you were with?
Nobody. I was with Corey on November 21st, and the first day on November 20th, I was by myself.
So it would be fair to say that you went to the park alone.
Yes, I met up with Mr. Brooks intentionally on the 20th. Yes.
Were you drinking that day?
No.
And how did you know how to get to Frame Park, as you call it?
I knew how to get to Frame Park because I'd been there previous times before that with Miss Corey, walking past it. I knew how to get there because Corey walked with me that day too. I just was not with her. She walked towards there with me.
And so then you separated?
Yes.
Did you separate from Miss Corey at any time during the 21st?
Yes, I did. She left with Nick and I was with Mr. Darrell Brooks.
Do you recall to the best of your knowledge that it may have been someone else that she was with, that was with you that day?
She was by which day? Are you clarifying? Which day?
November the 21st of 2021.
She was with Nick that day.
The entire day?
Yes.
And you guys separated from that point?
Yes.
Would it be fair to say you guys separated after hanging out and drinking?
Mr. Brooks, you need to move on to a new topic. You've been over this multiple times. It's been asked, it's been answered, you need to move on.
So to the best of your knowledge, well, let me back up. How did you communicate with the alleged defendant on November 20th of 2021?
Phone calls.
Strictly phone calls, texts?
Both. Mostly phone calls.
Do you remember what was said in those texts and phone
Same
calls?
conversation we had on the 21st. He was mad because I wasn't giving him money from not bailing him out.
So why would you meet up with the alleged defendant that day?
Because I just wanted to. We have a 15-year-old together. I mean, I was always going to talk to you then.
Do you remember if there was any agreed upon meeting up that day?
Yes.
By you, by the alleged defendant?
Both.
Do you remember the reason why you were meeting up?
I just said why.
So it would have been just to conversate?
Just to conversate.
Would it be fair to say that you could have communicated strictly by the phone?
Yes.
Objection.
Under 906, 11 sub 1 sub C, the objection is sustained. Next topic, if you have one, Mr. Brooks.
You said that you came to Wisconsin from another state. Would that be fair to say?
Atlanta, Georgia, yes. June 13th, 2021.
Why did you leave Georgia?
We were coming out here for 2 weeks, and I never went back.
Can you state why you never went back?
Number one, I came out here, I didn't have money. Number two, I had no way to get back, and you were always, Mr. Brooks was always physical.
So at any time were you ever offered money to go back to Georgia, or did anybody at any time ever?
No.
Did anybody at any time ever lend any help to help you go back to Georgia?
No.
Did you, to the best of your recollection, did you want to go back to Georgia?
Objection.
Sustained. Next question, please.
So why didn't you file a report with law enforcement on November the 20th after you alleged that you were abused?
Because I've been dealing with it for so many years, I just didn't do it. I
So-
don't see what this has anything to do with this case.
How long have you known the alleged defendant again?
Since I was 15. I'm 32 now.
Would it be fair to say that you lived in different states from the alleged defendant?
Yes, but
Oh, I'm sorry, that there was.
I was going to object and ask for clarification on the timeline there.
I'll sustain the objection, rephrase.
I was going to get to that, Your Honor. Would it be fair to say that during the duration of the time knowing the alleged defendant that the majority of that time you did not live in the same area or state?
yeah, off and on. I met Mr. Brooks in Reno, Nevada. I moved out of Reno, Nevada in 2017 to Atlanta, Georgia. I moved Mr. Brooks throughout. I've known him throughout, back and forth, off and on. The whole 16 years, me and Mr. Brooks were not together, but it was off and on.
Did you guys live in the same area off and on during that time?
Objection. Asked and answered.
Sustained.
Out of the 16 years you said it was, correct?
Yes, off and on, Mr. Brooks.
How much of that time did you actually spend with the alleged defendant?
Objection. Relevance.
Sustained. Also under 906, 11 sub 1 sub C. Move on.
At the time of this alleged incident, were you and the alleged defendant in any kind of relationship?
Yes.
And were you a couple? Were you just co-parenting? Or
We
what
were-
was the nature of the relationship is basically
We
what
were
I'm asking.
together. I wouldn't have came to Milwaukee, Wisconsin if I was not with him.
So it'd be fair to say that you were in a committed relationship?
Yes.
1 second, I'm just going over something. Would it be fair to say, I'm sorry, I didn't know.
Go
what was
ahead.
going on.
No, there was a water bottle being provided.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. How did, before you came back into contact with the alleged defendant, how long had it been since you had seen the alleged defendant?
A couple years.
So it would be fair to say that there was a significant gap in between interactions with the alleged defendant.
Yes.
Objection. Relevance.
Sustained. However, she provided the answer. It may stand. Next question.
So during your time, approximately how long were you staying around the alleged defendant before this incident on November 21st took place?
I don't know the exact time. I just answered your question on the exact time.
Were there any separations or gaps during that time?
Objection. Relevance.
Sustained.
At any time during these alleged incidents, were you with someone other than Miss Corey?
Corey and Nick the day of the 21st, and then we separated and I met back up with them.
Any time during that day were you with anyone else besides those two that you just named?
Mr. Brooks, you.
What about the alleged incident on the 20th?
I left with Miss Corey, and then she went a whole different direction, and I went to Frame Park and met up with Mr. Brooks.
Recollection, you were not drinking on both of those days that you cite, the 20th or the 21st?
The 20th.
Hold on. Mr. Brooks, under 90611, I'm stopping this cross-examination. You've asked the same question, multiple questions, multiple times. At this point, I'm going to declare that the opportunity to cross is now concluded.
I didn't know that was the same question, Your Honor.
Mr. Brooks, it's been asked and answered multiple times. So with that, I'm going to turn to the state to see if they have any redirect.
Just some brief clarification.
Go ahead.
When you met with Detective Guth for your second statement,
Yes.
on the 22nd, that's when you confirmed that there had been violence with Mr. Brooks on the 21st. Is that right?
Yeah, yes. Well, they seen my eye on the 21st when they came, so I did let them know about the incident on the 21st. I did. The next day, I let him know about the incident on the 20th is what happened.
Okay. All
Yes.
right. Thank you.
To make it better. Sorry.
Good. That's all I have, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you. You may step
Thank
down.
you, Your Honor.
All right, and any reason to keep her under subpoena from the state?
No.
From the defense?
Yes.
Do you have a subpoena for her?
To my understanding, I was supposed to.
All right, I'll take that up in a little bit. For now, I'd ask that she be maintained under the state's subpoena until I can clarify that issue. State have the next witness available.
Yes, we do.
Mr. Brooks, please. Before the next witness comes in, if my ladies and gentlemen of the jury want to take a quick moment to stand. All right, thank you, everyone. Please be seated. All right, the state may call its next witness.
The state calls Detective Steve Guth.
Please state your first and last names.
Detective Stephen Guth.
Go ahead, your witness.
Thank you. Detective, what do you do for a living?
I'm a detective for the City of Waukesha Police Department.
Could we have Exhibit 1 up on the screen for the jury, please, and for the witness? Where did this journey with Miss Patterson begin?
So we met generally in that area that's highlighted now in yellow. And we traveled in this direction on Baxter. As we continued down Baxter, we got to this street called Buckley. And then from Buckley, we made a right turn and ended up on Carina.
Let's capture there.
We'll get that printed and we'll have that marked as 1A.
This is an accurate map of Waukesha.
Yes, it is.
And the markings that you've put on the screen here, that's an accurate representation of the route you took with Miss Patterson on November 22nd.
Yes, it is.
Move Exhibits 1A and 1B into evidence.
Any objection?
Yes.
The objection noted, it's overruled.
That's all I have for this witness.
Mr. Brooks, do you have any questions for this witness?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
Officer Guth, detective.
Detective.
Sorry. Good morning, Detective Guth.
Good morning.
You've been in law enforcement for over 20 years. Would that be fair to say?
Correct.
At any time during your over 20 years of service, have you ever had any interaction with the plaintiff in this matter?
Objection.
Sustained.
Can you state for the record if the plaintiff is in court today?
Objection.
Sustained.
Have you ever seen the plaintiff?
Objection.
Sustained.
Do you even know of the plaintiff?
Objection.
Sustained.
Ever spoken to the plaintiff?
Objection.
On what grounds?
Sustained.
On what grounds?
It's sustained. Next question.
May I ask what grounds, Your Honor?
Mr. Brooks, do you have another question?
I do. I was just trying to follow the rules that you said by saying that an objection has to have a basis. So
Unless it's self-evident to the court. It's sustained. Next question.
On what grounds, Your Honor?
Do you have another question? Otherwise, under 906.11, I will give the state an opportunity to ask any redirect.
Yes, I do have more questions.
Go ahead.
At any time, did Erica Patterson report any domestic incident to you?
Yes.
Do you remember the dates that she reported or date?
Yes.
At any time during that report, did you find her to be untruthful?
No.
Just one second. I'm reading from the narrative of your report, and specifically the part where it says, what I learned from Erica Patterson was that when I spoke to her on the previous evening with Detective Barrett, she was not completely forthright with all of the information she had given. Would that be fair to say?
Correct.
So would it also be fair to say that from the report that you wrote that you're acknowledging that there was some untruth in the report reported to you?
No, that's incorrect.
When I spoke to her on the previous evening with Detective Barrett, she was not completely forthright. You said what you learned was that she was not completely forthright. So is it fair to say that there was some untruth to the report?
No.
So why would that be in the report?
For various reasons. The most common reason is that when domestic victims report crimes that happen to them, a lot of times they're very afraid of their abuser, and so they don't always give all details, because if they do give all details about what happened to them, they feel like they might have something happen to them at a future date from that same abuser.
So would it be fair to say that you could have just stated what you just said in your report?
I did state that.
Not in the report. Is it fair to say that obviously you've been in law enforcement for a very long time?
Is that a question?
Would it be fair to say that it could have been reported in the way that you just stated instead of stating in your report that there was untruthfulness?
I didn't state untruthfulness in my report. If you further read into the report, I state what I just stated.
So would it be fair to say, though, that the information wasn't completely forthright?
Yes.
To the best of your knowledge, would it be fair to say that there was in fact only one incident?
No.
And would you be basing that, to the best of your knowledge, would you be basing that answer, the last answer, on hearsay?
No.
So you would be basing your answer on eyewitness account?
I'll check that. Relevance word.
Grounds.
I'm going to sustain the objection. Next question, or you can rephrase it.
Would it be fair? I don't know how I can rephrase that without asking it the same way, Your Honor. Just give me a second. At any time during your report or time spent with Ms. Patterson, did she state where she may have been on November 20th of 2021?
Yes.
Do you recall what that was? What she said?
I recall what she said, yes.
To the best of your knowledge, do you believe that she was being truthful?
Yes.
I'm just going to advise the jury that ultimately it's the jury's determination of credibility that matters.
To the best of your knowledge, do you recall any injuries on the first reported incident?
Yes.
Do you recall what they were?
Yes.
And do you recall any injury on the reported incident from the day of the parade?
Yes.
Do you remember what they were?
Yes.
Can you state on the record what they were?
On which day?
The 20th.
Her mouth was injured due to being slapped in the mouth.
Can you recall for any reason why that would not be in the report?
It is.
To the best of your knowledge, can you say where in the report that would be? Because I don't see it in the report that I have here before me.
Are you asking me which report states that she was injured in the mouth? Are you asking if it was reported to me that she was injured in the mouth?
No, I'm not. I'm asking you, why is there no injuries reported for that incident, alleged incident?
It was reported to me that she was injured in the mouth by being slapped on the 20th.
Are you aware that that was not testified to?
No.
Hold on.
Hearsay.
What grounds would that be hearsay? Your
Mr.
Honor?
Brooks, it's up for the jury to determine the truthfulness of anything that's said or testified to in court.
Okay.
He was not present for any other testimony, so it would not be proper for him to comment on that. Next question.
Would it be fair to say that the reported alleged incident from the 20th is very, very vague in your report? Would that be fair to say? And by vague, I mean there's literally 3 sentences.
I don't have the report in front of me. If you're
I have it in
referring
front
to
of me.
vagueness, that's why I went back on the 22nd to interview her again to clarify information.
So on the 22nd, and this is your report I'm reading from, it says, due to the influx of information, we were unable to make sense of all the information. Would that be fair to say?
Correct.
So it would be also fair to say that would basically state that there were some things you weren't sure about.
Yes.
You also say in your report that you had learned that there were 2 other individuals that may have been involved in the incident. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
Do you remember the names of the 2 individuals?
Yes.
Would you state on the record what the names of the other 2 individuals were?
Corey Runkle, and the other individual's first name is Nick. I don't remember his last name.
Did Corey Runkle in any way report anything about the incident to you?
Not
Which incident? Hold on. Which incident are we talking about?
From November the 21st of 2021.
Thank you. With that clarification, are you able to answer?
not to me directly.
Do you recall if you had learned of any information about what Corey Runkle might have said to any other law enforcement?
Yes.
Do you recall what that was?
Yes.
Would you like to state on the record what that was that you may have learned?
I learned that she was with Erica Patterson on November 21st, 2021, when Erica Patterson was involved with a domestic incident. She responded to help her friend.
Do you recall of learning if Corey Runkle was with Erica Patterson on November 20th of 2021?
I don't think Corey Runkle was with Erica Patterson on the 20th.
You stated in the report that you were with Erica Patterson to kind of, basically you took her on a drive to pretty much retrace her steps. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
At any time, did any incident about November the 20th of 2021 come into your conversations with Erica Patterson?
You talking about during the drive?
During the drive. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
No, I just want to make sure that the question's clear. Go ahead.
I believe we did talk about it, both incidents from the 20th and the 21st.
Do you recall what was said?
Yes.
Do you recall putting that into your report?
I recorded our conversation. I don't know if I put every detail of our whole recording in the report. In fact, I know I didn't. So not every detail from our recorded conversation is in that report. The report is a summary.
For any reason, to your knowledge, why would details of an incident not be reported accurately?
Objection, that mischaracterizes the evidence.
It's also vague. Sustained.
To the best of your knowledge, why is that conversation that was supposedly had not in your report at all?
Objection.
This states the evidence.
Sustained.
Just 1 second. Sorry, Your Honor, I got tons of paperwork. 1 second, Your Honor. 1 second. And you stated that you interviewed Ms. Patterson on multiple days. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
Both of those times that you interviewed Ms. Patterson, did the reporting ever deviate?
Mr. Brooks, under 906.11, you need to clarify your question. It's ambiguous. It's confusing.
What I'm getting at by that question is, did what Ms. Patterson said change from interview to interview?
No.
So at any time during your interview, did you learn less or learn more?
I learned more in my second interview.
So it would be fair to say that the information you learned changed. Would that be fair to say?
Objection. Argumentative.
Overruled. He may answer.
It did not change. I just learned more information.
More information about what alleged incident? The 20th, the 21st?
Both, honestly.
I'm sorry.
Both, honestly.
So would it be fair to say, was it 2 interviews that you did or 3?
2.
So both interviews, you continued to learn things that you didn't know from the previous interview.
Objection asked and answered.
Sustained.
Would it be fair to say that, just 1 second, Your Honor. Detective Goose, report, if I may. To the best of your knowledge, did Erica Patterson give any report to any other law enforcement that you were aware of?
No.
So to the best of your knowledge, you were the only detective that interviewed Ms. Patterson?
Objection asked and answered.
Sustained.
To the best of your knowledge, were you the only one that interviewed Ms. Patterson?
Same objection.
Sustained.
At any time, did you learn anything about the alleged incidents that Ms. Patterson claimed from any other law enforcement?
Objection. Same reason.
Sustained.
At any time did you view the video footage from White Rock School?
Yes.
Do you remember what you saw in those videos?
Yes.
You stayed on the record what you saw?
Under 906.11, I'm going to advise the witness not to answer. That video is in evidence. It will speak for itself, and his understanding of what's in there is not relevant.
Can you say what was the date of the video that you saw?
November 21st, 2021.
Did you see any video from the other alleged incident from November 20th?
I'll object. I don't see the relevance to anything that happened on the 20th.
Sustained.
Do you know if there might have been any video from the alleged incident on November 20th?
Same objection.
Sustained.
Grounds.
It's not relevant.
May I ask how is it not
Next
relevant?
question. There's not a chart related to the 20th, sir. It's not relevant. I've given you leeway to ask questions at this point under 90611. Move on.
Just so I'm clear, you have never had any interaction with the plaintiff.
Objection.
Sustained.
You've never seen the plaintiff.
Objection.
Sustained.
Never spoken to the plaintiff.
Objection.
Sustained.
Never seen. Do you see the plaintiff in court today?
Objection.
Sustained.
Do you know if there is a plaintiff in this matter?
Objection.
Sustained.
Have you had any prior knowledge of the plaintiff in this matter?
Objection.
Sustained.
Would it be fair to say that you do not know of any plaintiff in this matter?
Objection.
Sustained.
On grounds? What grounds?
Under 90611, I'm declaring the cross-examination now closed. Do you have any redirect for this witness?
Briefly, Your Honor. In your general experience, victims of domestic violence do not report 100% of the details all the time.
Objection. Hearsay.
Overruled.
Grounds.
He hasn't asked a question yet.
Grounds for the.
He can ask his question. This witness testified about his experience based on a question you asked, so the redirect is appropriate.
May I just say that every situation is different, Your Honor, which we
You're
do know
attempting to
that.
testify, so no, you may not say that. The jury will strike that comment made by Mr. Brooks. You'll have an opportunity, if you so choose, to testify at a later point in time.
Did Erica Patterson provide to you a specific reason for her situation, why she was not 100% forthright with you?
Yes.
What was that reason?
She was extremely afraid of Mr. Brooks.
I have no further questions.
Any reason to keep this witness under subpoena from the state?
Not from the state.
Anything from Mr. Brooks?
Yes.
All right, I'll take that up later. And this would be an excellent opportunity to take a mid-morning break. All rise for the jury. We are in recess. We bring the jury back out, so we are on the record. Mr. Brooks, I was provided with information that your test result was hand-delivered to you, folded. Did you receive that?
I was made aware of my test. I didn't look at it yet, so.
Do you have it with you?
It is. It's in my paperwork somewhere.
All right, I need you to locate it and open it up, please.
May I ask the reason why that would be?
Mr. Brooks, you raised this issue yourself, and I'd like to know the result.
I would too, but I was kind of in the middle of preparing for my defense, so
Mr. Brooks, find the piece of paper and open it up and read it, please.
Your Honor, I don't consent to being talked to in that fashion.
Your lack of consent is noted for the record. Please find the piece of paper, open it up, and please read it.
I will not consent to that, Your Honor. Or do I agree to that, Your Honor? I do not.
Then I'm going to advise the Sheriff's Department to find the piece of paper and hand it to me so that I can read it.
Yeah.
So that those are your two options.
What would be the basis for that, Your Honor?
This is an issue that you raised, and I need to bring it to finality and know what the test result is.
Okay, with all due respect, it was a motion that I raised.
All right, I'm going to clear the courtroom. We're going to go off the record, and we're going to find that piece of paper, and I'm going to address it when that's done. Excuse everyone from the courtroom, take a recess so that the test result could be obtained, and if necessary, by reasonable force. And there was some type of situation or altercation between Mr. Brooks and the deputies. It was very clear to me that he was upset. I have obtained the test result. He was yelling about his constitutional rights being violated. I'm going to take an early lunch break because of this, but I will make a record of the following. I have the result. I can confirm that the test result for COVID-19 was negative. Again, I intend to take an early lunch, so I'm going to give him an opportunity to hopefully settle back in and to come back here when we return from lunch. So with that, we are in recess. Probably come back at 1 o'clock. Since it's only 11:30, and we'll take the full 90 minutes for lunch today. All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. All right, we are back on the record. Appearances are as they were previously. Mr. Brooks is in the courtroom. He is in jail attire, as that is his choice. If there's anything the state wants to address at this point before we continue with testimony?
No,
Just
thank
wanna
you.
check. Mr. Brooks, anything you want to address at this point? It's hard for me to see his head. He's bent over, but I thought I saw him shaking his head. No, but I'll ask one more time. Mr. Brooks, anything you want me to address before the jurors are brought out to continue with testimony from witnesses?
Just a little emotional right now.
All right, let's bring the jury out. We'll continue. I presume the state has a witness available. We do. Mr. Brooks, the jury is headed out, but why don't you hold off on that, and at the next appropriate time when they're not on their way in, I can address whatever it is. Or if you want to pass me a note, you can do that as well. All right, thank you, everyone. Please be seated. State may call its next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state calls Officer Jeremy Phillips.
Go ahead, your witness.
I'd like to direct your attention to a time around 4 o'clock or 4:30 in the afternoon. Do you recall getting dispatched to Frame Park?
I do recall being dispatched there, yes.
What was the nature of the complaint you were responding to?
Subjects fighting in the park with a knife allegedly involved. There was approximately 3 subjects off to my right-hand side on the sidewalk that were yelling, screaming, and waving, like flagging me down. I pulled over, I rolled down my passenger window. 2 of the subjects started yelling that their friend had been assaulted. It was right at that point, information came over the radio on the primary dispatch channel that something had happened downtown and somebody had been hit. As I looked back at the subjects, they started to again say that their friend had been assaulted, so I said, hold on, let me pull over so I can get out, so I can speak with you directly in person and figure out what was going on. I started to talk to the female who had the blue coat on, and I said, okay, I said, well, what happened? Who is this person? And she tried to downplay what happened. She didn't want to be cooperative. She made comments to the effect of nothing happened. It was just a verbal argument. So as I was speaking to this woman who identified herself as Erica, the calls on the radio at that point were 1078 after 1078 after 1078.
Okay,
And
what does that mean?
so 1078 in law enforcement jargon is officer needs immediate assistance right now, all available units. I leave the area. I tell her I'm sorry that I had to go.
We've now put Exhibit 6 on your monitor. It's not yet displayed for the courtroom. Do you recognize this, or do you want us to play it for a few seconds?
I recognize what I'm looking at.
Move to admit and permission to publish Exhibit 6.
Mr. Brooks, any position on that?
Yeah, what is the grounds? We haven't seen what's in the video.
Your objection is noted. It is overruled.
This clip is about 6 minutes long. It's Where are you going now? Pause, please. I'm sorry.
Time they were at Hartwell and Maine with the reserve officer.
Are you driving on Baxter now?
I am driving down
The two subjects walked down towards the White House School. Hispanic male, Hispanic female.
Pause it, please. Whose voice was that, if you know?
I'm not going to say I know 100% sure on that.
216, I'm 1060. I will meet with the callers.
That's okay. Slow everybody down. I don't see anything resembling what's being reported. I got it. All this was back to brain. Just here.
Pause. It's a little hard to see, but on the right-hand side, did you see the individuals walking down the street there?
I did. My squad just passed.
I'm sorry,
but
sidewalk, yeah.
About 2 seconds prior, there were 3 individuals who were walking down the sidewalk. These are the 3 individuals that flagged me down on the passenger side of my car.
Okay. Go ahead.
What the fuck?
Yes, after you see the main environment, so somebody got hit.
What?
What?
Black guy, red SUV, just assaulted my friend in the park. Oh shit!
This big guy, he not hit me. So they called the cops.
And you said
You guys involved with a knife or something?
You can check me.
Okay. Okay.
I've already been slashed with the knife.
Let me pull over here.
Yeah, what the
Alright, hand up your 1052. Good, sorry, man. I didn't say anything.
Stand by me, you need a 1052, I copy 854.
122, up there, car, red through westbound, main, by subway.
Hey, hold on for a second, okay? 216, I need another at Hartwell and White Rock. I have another person reported being assaulted. Okay. White Rock, Hartwell, right.
Me and my baby daddy, we argue all the time.
Okay.
I understand when he ran me over with a car. Right now we're just talking. Nothing is happening. There's no knife, nothing. They call us for me to argue.
We have multiple injured, main and gas fire. Give me as many ambulance as you can to main and gas fire.
Okay.
At shots fired, Wisconsin and West. I'm checking for injuries. There was someone running through the parade route at a high rate of speed. 3206, 1078, 1078.
Okay.
102! Again, 1078! We have about 10 to 15 people down in the street!
Who assaulted you? Who ran?
We're arguing, we're assaulting. They call.
Do you have a weapon?
1078, we have multiple subjects down, 10 to 15 people, main and gas fire, repeating main and gas fire, 1078.
They call. There's no fucking weapon.
I didn't call it. You gotta handle that fine.
Okay. What is your name? Say your name. Patterson, what's your date of birth?
October 7, 1990.
So, 10/7/1990? Erica Patterson? Okay. Okay.
I copy 1078.
Well, my name is 552. People's Park, female, not conscious, not alert, not breathing. King County, everybody here available now. Well, two has got multiple critical fractures. We're doing CPR on an individual at 369 West Main Street. Got an unconscious, unresponsive 5-year-old. I'm trying to get him in the vehicle again.
Was that that you running away from your squad, sir?
That was me running away, yes.
It was a little bit difficult to hear. When you asked Erica Patterson who assaulted her, did she tell you a name?
She did not, no.
When you got to Main Street, where'd you go?
I was just trying to assist any officer, EMS, civilian individual that was around, and it was just mass chaos, carnage everywhere.
Did you attempt to render aid to some injured individuals?
There was approximately 2 to 3 individuals I can remember talking to directly. There was a number of them laying in the street, obviously injured, parents screaming at me to help their kids. The third person I came across was also a band member. She was a female. Her leg was obviously injured. She was being held upright by a couple of adults, and I asked her what was wrong, what was hurting, if there's anything more serious with her as she was being held up. And she said, "Officer, I saw what happened. I saw who did this." And I said, "What can you tell me?" And she said, "A red SUV sped through the parade and did this." She didn't say anything more than that.
These 3 injured individuals you spoke to, would you describe them all as being about teenage years?
Objection.
Overruled. He may answer.
This is the grounds, Your Honor.
Overruled. He may answer.
So is he going to answer to the question to
Yes.
the prosecution table or to the jury? I'm not sure. He's looking at them answering the questions, but they're not answering the question, asking the questions.
You may answer the question, sir.
I would place them all at teenage age range.
Were you aware that at some point a person was taken into custody in the 500 block of Elizabeth Street that was related to this incident, sir?
Objection. Irrelevant.
Overruled.
Did you learn the name of the person who had been taken into custody?
I knew from radio traffic at the time that it was a Darrell Brooks.
Did you have an opportunity to go back and try and investigate the initial complaint you had taken from Erica Patterson?
Yes, I did.
Did you learn of any complaints that have been filed by Ms. Patterson in the past to other police agencies?
Objection. Irrelevant.
Overruled.
Specifically, could you find anything linking Ms. Patterson to the defendant, Darrell Brooks?
Objection. Hearsay.
Overruled.
Yes.
I don't have any other questions for this witness at this time, Your Honor.
Mr. Brooks, you may start your cross-examination.
I noticed, Officer Phillips, you are in uniform this afternoon. Were you scheduled to work today?
Yes.
So it would be fair to say that you would be on duty as of now if you weren't giving testimony in this matter.
I would be on duty right now, yes.
So it would also be fair to ask if it would be fair to say that you giving testimony right now, you're still getting paid for it.
I am currently employed by the City of Waukesha Police Department.
So with that, would it be fair to say that you are getting paid right now as we speak?
Yes, I'm getting paid right now.
By whom?
Objection, relevance.
Sustained. Next question.
Were you subpoenaed by the plaintiff in this matter?
Can you rephrase the question?
Were you subpoenaed to testify here today by the plaintiff?
Can you explain it in another way?
That was pretty clear. Were you subpoenaed to testify by the plaintiff in this matter?
I was subpoenaed by the Waukesha County Prosecution's Office to testify in this matter.
Can you say that again just for the record?
I was subpoenaed by the Waukesha County Prosecution's Office in this matter.
Is the Waukesha County Prosecution's Office the plaintiff in this matter?
Objection, irrelevant.
Sustained.
Do you know of any plaintiff in this matter?
Objection, irrelevant.
Sustained.
Have you ever seen the plaintiff in this matter?
Objection, irrelevant.
Have you ever talked
Sustained.
Have you ever talked to the plaintiff in this matter?
Objection, irrelevant.
Sustained.
Why are you continuing to look at parties that are not asking the questions?
Objection, argumentative.
Sustained.
In the video, it's kind of hard to hear everything that was said when you pulled over and interviewed the 3 individuals. Can you give a little more commentary on what was actually said?
Can you clarify exactly?
What exactly were you told by the 3 individuals that you pulled over to interview?
I don't remember or recall exactly what all 3 individuals said to me, as 1078 and the screams for help by other officials over the radio were directing my attention to figure out what was also going on downtown. What I recall hearing from these individuals is that one of the individuals that was not Erica indicated that their friend had been in a fight or an altercation. So that's when I decided to pull over and try to get more information out of them. She, Erica, told me that nothing happened, that there was just a verbal altercation, that she wanted nothing to happen and she just wanted to leave. That's when another one of the individuals said, "Erica, you need to report what happened," and she still didn't want to. And that was basically about the extent of it when I just tried to get her name as these calls over the radio were coming for whatever was happening downtown that was unbeknownst to me at the time.
So would it be fair to say that you do recall the commentary of the interview?
I'm sorry. Now I will object as argumentative, Your Honor.
Sustained. What I would say, Mr. Brooks, is the use of the word commentary mischaracterizes the evidence. It's argumentative.
So it would be fair to say that you do recall what was said after already saying you don't recall.
I object. It's argumentative.
Sustained. Rephrase your question.
Say that you do recall what was said after already saying you don't recall.
I object. It's argumentative.
Sustained. Rephrase your question.
It would be fair to say that you responded to a fight at Frame Park, possibly involving a knife. That'd be fair to say?
That is what the initial dispatch was, yes.
Was any knife recovered from that scene, or
I did not recover a knife, no.
did you see anybody with a knife?
I did not see any individual with a knife.
Did you learn who reported that there was a knife involved?
I do not know the subjects' names that actually reported the incident, no.
From your recollection, sorry, just 1 second. From your recollection, was Erica Patterson being cooperative with the information that she gave you?
Erica Patterson was not being cooperative with the information she was giving me, no.
Do you recall if the male individual reported any information to you?
I believe I heard a male's voice during the time that I was flagged down. I don't recall what information he told me directly.
But there was 3 individuals that you interviewed at that time. Would that be fair to say?
There were 3 individuals present at the time I was flagged down, yes.
And one of them was a male. Would that be fair to say?
Correct, yes.
But you don't recall him relaying any type of information to you at that time?
I remember hearing a male's voice. I don't remember what information that specific person told me at that time.
Just so we're clear on the record, about how long did you conduct that interview, would you say? Was it a couple of minutes, or?
I'd have to look directly at the squad video for an exact timestamp.
After you interviewed those 3 individuals, did you later gain any more information of the incident that you were investigating at that time?
I did not gain any further information regarding the specific fight that I was initially dispatched to, no.
And just so we're clear for the record, you did not talk to the plaintiff about testifying?
Objection. Vague.
Sustained.
Did you say vague? Were you contacted in any way by the plaintiff to testify here today?
Objection. Irrelevant.
Sustained.
Do you know if there's even a plaintiff in this matter?
I was contacted by the Waukesha County District Attorney's Office to testify in this case.
Do you know if that's the plaintiff in this matter?
My assumption in this case that the plaintiff is the state of Wisconsin.
So the state of Wisconsin is the plaintiff in this matter to your knowledge?
That would be correct, yes.
No further.
Thank you, sir. You may step down. Your next witness.
Yes, I'd also like to move Exhibit 1C into the record.
Exhibit 1C is received.
Thank you.
Your objection is noted.
Can I take the grounds, if I may?
You may.
There's a point in the video that was shown, like during the interview part between the officer and the 3 individuals where...
That's not the exhibit we're talking about.
Well, okay. I didn't understand what was being referred to. I was going to bring this up, but I wanted to wait.
Sir, let's take it up outside the presence of the jury later on. You'll have to remind me later. I've already received the video, which is exhibit number 6.
That video has some language in it that you made an order on. So I just want to put that on the record. Something that you ruled on.
Sir, we'll take it up outside the presence of the jury. All right? I need to keep going on.
Me and my baby daddy, we argue all the time. I understand when he ran me over the car. Right now we're just talking on the street.
Next witness, please.
State will call Kyle Edwards.
Please make your way to the witness stand, which is the first thing I will ask you to do is to state your first and last names for the record and then spell each.
Kyle Edwards, K-Y-L-E-E-D-W-A-R-D-S.
Thank you. Go ahead, your witness.
I'm going to put up a document that's been labeled as Exhibit number 7. Does the photograph in Exhibit number 7 accurately represent that intersection to the best of your knowledge, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Move to admit and permission to publish number 7, please.
Any position on that, Mr. Brooks?
Yeah, object. Irrelevant.
Your objection is noted. It's overruled.
Exhibits is the gas station, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you stop at that intersection, sir? That's a controlled intersection?
Yes, we were stopped at the red light.
So you're stopped at the lane closest to the gas station?
That's correct.
And what happened as you're sitting there, sir?
About the same time as we were coming up to stop at the stoplight, there was a vehicle that made a left from Barstow onto the wrong way, to go to the wrong way on North Street, and stopped right up against our vehicle.
What kind of vehicle was this, sir?
It was a red SUV, kind of an older model.
Do you know maker model specifically or not really?
At the time, no.
Okay.
I wouldn't be able to say. Just a red SUV, so.
And you've already indicated that's the wrong way to be going on North Street.
Correct, ma'am.
Overruled.
What did you do when you saw this red SUV turning the wrong way into your path of travel?
We kind of approached that stop line at the same time. We were really with the other vehicle hood to hood, and the driver of the other vehicle kind of put up their hands, gesturing wildly, like, again, I don't know if mouthing's the right word, but kind of frantically. It seemed upset at us that we were either going the wrong way or so I kind of did the same thing, just put my hands up and just kind of was confused. The person in the other vehicle kind of made mention with like a knife hand to his right, my left, to go in maybe towards the gas station, but he was kind of pointing to the driveway of the gas station. I looked in my rearview mirror, there was no one parked behind me at the time, other than that vehicle having to maybe back up into the intersection. I could see that they were motioning to go into the driveway of the gas station.
Did it appear to you as though Mr. Brooks was alone in the car?
Yes, it did.
You only saw one person in that car?
That's correct.
At that.
Overruled, his answer may stand.
Now let's go back to the parade. You said you were near the 5 points?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were kind of positioned in area, try to get out of the wind, right?
Not out of the wind, but with our backs to the wind. Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
It was very windy that night, right?
Yes.
Overruled.
Did you see a red SUV go through the parade?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you remember seeing?
The vehicle approached from our left. There was somebody that flew through the air, and then it exited to the right of our perspective, and that's all we saw. So because we were a little bit, maybe a row or two back from the front of the parade, we didn't have a long view of it coming and it leaving. It was kind of an entered the frame of reference and then exit pretty quickly.
You did unfortunately see a person flying through the air?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you tell anything about the person as far as what group or unit they were with? If you know. If you don't know, that's okay.
No, it was just dark clothing.
The objection is overruled.
Mr. Brooks may have some questions.
Mr. Brooks?
I'm sorry. Yep. Thank you, Ms. Basie. Could I please ask the clerk to make a screenshot and mark it as 1D, and then I would move to admit 7A.
That will be marked as 7A. Mr. Brooks, any position on that?
Yeah, I object to the relevancy of it. This what's on the screen right now? We talking about this?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't see the relevance of this.
Your objection is noted. It's overruled. Do you have any questions for this witness?
Yes, I do. You have a written statement and a statement that you gave to Officer Barrett. Would that be fair to say?
I don't remember the name of the officer that took my statement.
Would it be fair to say that you were interviewed by an officer, a female officer?
Yes.
And would it also be fair that you gave a written statement to that same officer?
I think I signed the statement that she wrote.
So it'd be fair to say that the officer wrote down what you told her?
Yes.
And do you remember the date that interview took place?
A couple days after the parade incident.
Any reason why it wouldn't have been the same day as the parade?
I would assume that they were rendering aid to the victims of the incident.
Do you recall stating in this interview that you saw the news and a picture of the male driving the said SUV?
I believe in the statement I said that I wanted to provide a description of who I had the interaction with before I saw any picture of anybody on the news.
So you never stated that since the incident and before the statement that you saw the news and the picture of the male?
I guess I don't understand the question.
In your statement that the officer wrote down. Well, let me back up. Did you see a picture of the alleged defendant on the news?
Yes, but not before I provided the description to the officer.
So the description that you gave, would that be the same officer that did the interview?
I called the evening of the incident. I called the non-emergency line and provided the description at maybe 10:30 that evening of the event, and then provided the same description to the officer, a few days later.
Do you recall why you called the non-emergency line for something that would have been so big that it should have been an emergency call?
Objection, argumentative.
Sustained.
Any reason why you would call the non-emergency line?
Someone going down a wrong way on a one-way street a few minutes before the parade didn't seem like an emergency compared to what had happened at the parade.
So would it be fair to say that you were then reporting someone going down the wrong way, trying to get into the gas station at that time?
At what time?
At the time that you called the non-emergency number.
I wanted to report that I had seen someone in a red SUV going the wrong way down a one-way before the parade, and the possibility that it was connected to the red SUV that I had seen drive through the parade.
So that non-emergency report, as you state, would have been to make a possible connection between the two incidents?
I was just reporting what I had seen.
So at that time, would it be fair to say you weren't sure if there was a connection?
I would say that I had a red SUV 5 feet from my hood, and then I saw a red SUV drive through the parade and wanted to, notify the police that I had seen that.
So at the time, were you sure that there was a connection?
Pretty sure, yes.
And what would have made you pretty sure?
The color of the SUV, the approximate age of the SUV, the timing between the 20 minutes of where I was in Waukesha to the 25 minutes later that I had seen the red SUV go through the parade.
Would it be fair to say that you just described the SUV that made the wrong turn going into the gas station as an older model? I think that was your correct words. Is that fair?
Yes.
Is there any reason why you wouldn't be able to make the connection between the older model SUV that you saw going into the gas station and the one that you saw in the parade?
No, they were similar age. I guess older subjective. I mean, it was a similar age, the one I saw before the parade and the one I saw during the parade.
So it'd be fair to say that you weren't exactly sure.
I'm pretty sure they were the same vehicle.
Do you recall in your statement saying that you were 95% sure?
That sounds right, yes. 95%. I would give that same percentage, yes.
Why not? Why would you not be 100% sure if you say that you believe that they were the same vehicle?
Objection, argumentative.
Sustained.
I guess I'll say it like, what put any doubt in your head that they weren't the same vehicle?
I wasn't able to see the driver of the person going through the parade because it was moving so fast.
So you weren't exactly sure who was driving the SUV in the parade?
Correct.
Do you recall in the statement that the officer wrote down, do you recall telling the officer that was writing the report that you're 95% sure the male you saw prior to the parade at the gas station was the one driving through the parade route?
As far as I would not be able to identify who was driving through the parade route because the vehicle was moving too fast.
Do you recall saying that his voice was the same?
Yes. So when the second interview had taken place, again, I wanted to provide the description to the officer, the visual description the night of, but just as I did now, I'm 95% sure that the interaction that I had prior to the parade was with you.
Who do you refer to when you say you?
Whatever your name is.
So you don't know the alleged defendant's name?
I do, yeah.
Would it be safe to assume that if you couldn't see who was driving the SUV in the parade route, that you also couldn't identify if it was the same voice?
The voice has nothing to do with the driver of the vehicle driving the parade.
So would it be safe to assume that you got the description from the news and picture of the person that you seen on the news?
The person and the voice that I saw in the news matched who I interacted with prior to the parade.
But just so we're clear for the record, there was no way you saw who was driving the vehicle in the parade route?
Correct.
Going back to the interaction at the gas station, do you recall telling the interviewing officer that the driver of that vehicle rolled down the window to say, "I'm almost out of gas"?
Yes.
Do you recall backing your vehicle up to let the driver of that car into the gas station?
Yes.
Do you remember how far you backed up?
5 feet.
Do you remember telling the reporting officer who was writing down your statement that it was 10 feet?
5 to 10 feet.
Was it 5 feet or 10 feet?
It was enough to let the vehicle into the gas station.
So would it be safe to say that you don't recall?
It would be safe to say it's between 5 and 10 feet.
After your initial non-emergency call, it was the night of the parade that you made the non-emergency call, correct?
Yes.
Do you recall how long after that you were then interviewed by law enforcement?
A few days.
Did you try to attempt to call and report again?
Yes, I think so. I'd called again maybe a day or two later, just because, again, it was when I first called the night of, they seemed to be pretty busy. So I called a day or two later just to, make sure that anybody had taken down the statement that I had made the night of. And then it was, a couple days later that the officer came out to interview me.
Would it be fair to state that at that time you were still seeking to report what had happened at the gas station?
That's correct.
So you weren't seeking to report any connection between the gas station incident and what you saw in the parade route?
Objection, asked and answered.
Overruled.
I was calling to report what I had seen before the parade.
And the second reporting was before you actually were interviewed, correct? Just so we're clear for the record.
What do you mean by the second reporting?
The second time that you called to make a report about the gas station incident, that was before you ultimately were interviewed by law enforcement.
That's correct. The second call was just to make sure that they still had my name, and I didn't really file a formal report that second time. It was just a call to see that they still had my name and contact info, and they had said that an officer would be out eventually to interview.
At that time, when you called to make sure that they still had your name on file, or your report about the gas station incident, at that time, had you made any connection to that incident and what you saw at the parade?
Your Honor, I'm going to object. We've been through this.
Sustained. It's been asked and answered. Mr. Brooks, I draw your attention once again to 90611.
Noted.
Next topic, please.
Noted. And were you subpoenaed by the state of Wisconsin to testify here today?
I was either the state or the county. I received a letter from the county.
Did they identify as the plaintiff in this matter?
Objection. Irrelevant.
Sustained.
Do you see the state of Wisconsin in the courtroom today?
Objection, Your Honor. Vague.
Sustained.
To the best of your knowledge, do you know if the state of Wisconsin is the plaintiff in this matter?
Objection. Irrelevant.
Sustained.
Have you ever had any interaction with the state of Wisconsin?
Objection. Irrelevant.
Sustained.
Ever had a phone conversation with the state of Wisconsin?
Objection. Irrelevant.
Sustained.
Do you even know the state of Wisconsin?
Same objection.
Sustained. Mr.
And
Brooks. New topic, or I'll stop the cross-examination under 90611.
1 second. Do you recall how long approximately you were stopped at the red light during the gas station incident?
A minute or two.
Did you ever see the vehicle that went into the gas station actually get gas?
When we turned left onto Barstow, I noticed that the vehicle didn't stop for gas and was going to either exit to go back on north, but it didn't stop at a gas pump.
Did you see the vehicle pull off from the gas station, or was it just kind of stationary parked?
I can't say to what the vehicle did because I was already at that point out of view. I just know that it had not gone to one of the gas pumps.
No further questions.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, sir. You may step down. State may call its next witness, please.
Thank you. The state calls Holly Berg.
Thank you. Go ahead.
As you're standing there at the parade, what do you remember about the first time you saw that red SUV?
So at first, a group had just passed us. I believe it was the Catholic community group. And then there was a large gap. And so I looked to see, what's next, and saw a red SUV, which I originally thought was part of the parade, in the far right lane of Main Street. But it was going really fast, and I said to myself, why is this going so fast? And then it clicked as soon as it switched over to the far left lane and then into the group of people right in front of me.
Did you see the red SUV strike any people in the Catholic community group?
Several.
Can you estimate how many?
At least 15.
I'm sorry to ask it this way, but did you see anybody actually fly or roll or tumble?
Yeah, so originally I heard sounds like thuds, and then it was in the air like bowling pins.
Were you able to estimate the speed of the vehicle at that time?
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled.
Did you actually see the vehicle drive over people?
I saw it hit the group and people fly, and then there was just chaos in the street.
All right, thank you, ma'am. I don't have any other questions for you.
Mr. Brooks, do you have any cross-exam for this witness?
I do. First of all, good afternoon. You stated that you saw brake lights. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
Would it be fair to say you would only see brake lights from a vehicle if it was attempting to stop?
Or slow.
So, just so I'm clear on that, you would see brake lights on a vehicle that is attempting to slow down or stop.
Sure.
And you stated that you could estimate the speed of the vehicle?
I estimated 20 miles per hour.
And would you characterize that as extremely fast?
Yes, for the parade, yes.
And how did you come to the conclusion of the speed?
With how quickly it went from point A to point B in my range of sight.
Going back to the gas station incident, you were, I guess I would need to see the map again.
We still have the map with the markings available up, or was it cleared after we captured it?
I didn't clear it. Yeah,
Okay.
Will we please save that as 7B, please, Your Honor?
It will be saved as 7B.
And admitted.
Any position on that, Mr. Brooks?
Yeah, I don't see the relevancy of the map.
It's directly related to her testimony, sir. It's relevant. Your objection is noted.
So,
It's overruled.
Where were you positioned again at the stoplight?
I was in the front row in the middle lane.
Do you remember if it was a car to your right?
I think there was a car to my right.
Do you recall if the vehicle you saw going into the gas station had any tinted windows?
I do not.
And you stated that you were pretty sure it was only one occupant of that vehicle?
Yes, that's all I could see.
With all you can see, or are you sure that it was only one occupant?
I could see one person.
So it'd be fair to say you couldn't see any other seats in the vehicle?
I saw one person when it was head-to-head with the vehicle next to me, the one with the arms in the air, and then I saw one person as he stuck his head out the window once he pulled in.
Could you see the passenger seat?
I could not from that point.
Could you see the back seats?
No.
Are we done with the map? I'd like to turn.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Do you recall who subpoenaed you here to testify?
Yes.
You stated for the record?
Yes, I said. Oh, the state of Wisconsin District Attorney.
Do you see the state of Wisconsin present in the courtroom today?
Objection, irrelevant.
Sustained. Mr. Brooks, move on. Under 90611, I've sustained all of the objections related to this line of questioning. It's not relevant. Next topic, or I will find that the cross-examination by you is done.
So you're sustaining every question pertaining to that part of questioning, or is it for every testimony? Or
it's on that topic, so you may continue if you choose another topic.
Have you ever seen the plaintiff, state of Wisconsin, before?
Right, pursuant to 90611, judge controls the order and mode of interrogation, that these questions violate sub 1, and Mr. Brooks will not be able to ask any further questions of this witness. Does the state have any redirect?
No redirect, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. You may step down.
What was
Mr.
violated?
Brooks, I'm not going to address that right now. I think this will be a good time to take our afternoon break. All rise for the jurors, please. This has passed 3 notes to the court. I review them as they come in. At times I put no response needed. There was one particular request I do want to take up by Mr. Brooks, and that is at 1:11 p.m. he sent a note indicating, I'm very emotional right now. Can I go to the other court? You've been in the courtroom. You've been meaningfully participating. Are you asking to go to the other courtroom?
We went back on the record. I was very emotional at that time. Still very emotional, but I'm attempting as best I can to hold it together. That does lead me to, since we are addressing certain things outside the...
Well, I'm addressing this first, sir. Are you making requests to go to the other
I'm not
courtroom?
making any requests at this time. Like I just stated, I'm trying my best to hold everything together considering how this day has been. I can't expect anybody else to know what's inside my head, to know what I'm going through right now, but yeah, we'll just leave that there.
All right, thank you. That is noted for the record. At some point, sir, after I admitted Exhibit 6, you raised an objection. I told you I would allow you to raise that outside the presence of the jury. Now is your opportunity to do that.
And which one would you be referring to?
Exhibit 6, sir.
Oh, the video?
We've seen multiple videos, but yes, Exhibit 6 is a video, sir.
I think it's very clear what I was referring to in that video. The interview portion of the officer with the 3 individuals has language in it that you made a ruling about, pertaining to a whole different entire...
Which part of the video, sir?
The interview part. I'm going to say it again, as I've already said it clearly enough. The interview part between the officer and the 3 individuals.
And what specifically are you referring to? What statement, sir? I need some specificity.
Do you need it played? Do you need it played?
Mr. Brooks, you're the one making the objection. Please make your offer of proof so I can rule on it.
The offer of proof is that there's language said by Erica Patterson in that interview that can be audible, referring to another situation in another county. You made a ruling on that would not be admitted into evidence. So at the very least, that portion of the video that you've already admitted into evidence should be removed, or the whole video should be struck and removed from the record. And I'm saying that because of the ruling that you made, the judicial determination that you made, Your Honor.
Let me turn to the state. Attorney Opper, I don't specifically recall. If I need to review it on a break, maybe I will, but do you have any idea what this is referring to?
I do not, Your Honor. I did not hear anything in that recording that would violate your previous orders?
I object to that. It's very clear if the video was played that you can hear language said in that portion of the video that you clearly ruled on.
I'll review it at a later point in time. Even if there were to be something, it was not offered for the truth of the matter asserted. It doesn't change the fact that the video itself is admissible. It might have an impact on whether it's played again for the jury, at least at that particular point. Mr. Brooks, I'd appreciate if you not roll your eyes at me. There was a lot going on in that video. You raised it when you thought it was appropriate. I told you I'd take it up outside the presence of the jury. That's what I'm giving you the opportunity to do. What I'm telling you is I'm not going to make a ruling specifically because I need to watch the video. And so I don't think that's something you should be rolling your eyes at. What I'm telling you, sir, is I'm going to take the time, not now during the trial, but on a break when I can look at it in chambers and keep a careful ear out for what you said, and then I'll come back and make my ruling. So that's giving deference to your request, so I don't think it warrants you rolling your eyes at me.
I wasn't rolling my eyes to you about
So
that.
with that, we're on recess, 15 minutes, everyone. The court's stepping.
Your Honor.
Please be seated. We are back on the record. Mr. Brooks, you have incredible hearing because you are right. At approximately 2:58 to 2:59 in that video, I can hear Erica Patterson saying that I get into an argument or I argue with my baby daddy all the time and he previously ran over my foot. I'm going to take the request under advisement. At this point, I'm inclined to strike this exhibit from the state's case. I'm going to give the parties over the weekend to file any written requests regarding it or further authority, and I'll address it first thing Monday morning.
I'm not interrupting you.
No, go ahead.
Did you make a ruling on the filing for the demand of verified statement of particulars by affidavit?
Mr. Brooks, I'm not going to address that. It is an argument that's without merit. I'm summarily denying it yet again. We're going to bring the jury back out. Does the state have the next witness available?
We do, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your objection is noted for the record. We're continuing, Mr. Brooks. Thank you.
I'm aware of that, Your Honor. I was just trying to make sure I didn't interrupt you while you were saying something. So
State's next witness, please.
Will you be proving the subject matter?
We need the jury, Your Honor.
Oh, we do. Oh, sometimes I get a little ahead of myself. Let's bring the jury out.
Your Honor, I make a tennis motion to dismiss this case for lack of personal and subject matter jurisdiction. And I'd like to state that for the record.
Your statement is noted.
You have not proven subject matter jurisdiction yet, Your Honor. Are you making the judicial
And
determination?
I direct your attention to the Barnaby decision.
Is that a judicial determination? The record should reflect then that I got no answer. Silence is a tacit agreement, Your Honor. For the record.
All right, thank you, everyone. Please be seated. State may call its next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state calls Detective Casey.
Go ahead, your witness.
Detective Casey, what is your current employment?
I'm employed by the City of Waukesha Police Department. I'm a detective.
How long have you worked in law enforcement?
Over 25 years.
Directing your attention to the date of November 21, 2021, were you on duty that day, sir?
Yes, I was.
In what capacity?
Well, my rank was detective, but I was assigned to a Christmas parade as traffic control.
You're obviously aware, sir, that there was a tragic event that occurred as the parade was underway, correct?
Correct.
Do you know of the 67 units that you told us about, how many units were impacted directly by the conduct of Mr. Darrell Brooks?
Quickly like to object to being called that name. I do not recognize the name the prosecutor used.
Your objection is noted. It's overruled.
The direction of travel for the parade, which directions?
The parade starts in this area right here.
Okay.
This here is the staging area, and it travels this way, which is the southwesterly fashion, and then it proceeds this direction, which is west.
We'll just play these videos, please, and I'm going to ask you again as we play them to identify the various groups that were impacted. So,
Attorney Upper, any request as relates to the annotation?
no, I don't think so, not at this time, Your Honor. We can let that one go.
All right, Mr. Brooks, any request as it relates to the annotation?
I don't understand what is annotation.
Next time, wait. The monitor, the touch screen made annotations, made marks. We've been capturing it. The state said they were not asking that an exhibit be made. Unfortunately, they're no longer on there, so we won't have the specific markings. Would you have wanted those markings to be captured? Okay, because I would give instructions to Detective Casey to redo them if you wanted.
So I'm going to ask, we're going to preview Exhibit 10. Do you believe this clip that we're about to show the jury will be a truthful and accurate representation of the parade units as they entered the parade route?
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled.
Move to admit number 10 and permission to publish.
Any position by
Object.
Mr. Brooks?
I object with the grounds.
Your objection is noted. It's overruled.
What are the grounds?
The Exhibit 10 is received. Permission to publish is granted.
What are the grounds, Your Honor?
Mr. Brooks, your objection is noted. It's overruled. I'll answer this. I believe the evidence is relevant to the charges in this case.
So this would be the Catholic Communities of Waukesha. They would be marching westbound on Main Street, which is at the early beginning of the parade. And the cross street there would be East Avenue, and the church behind them should be St. Matthias Church.
Did they have a banner in front of their group as they marched down the road?
Yes, they do.
Did the Catholic Community of Waukesha, did the participants for that group wear any specific clothing or uniforms, to your knowledge?
No, they do not.
The objection is noted. It's overruled.
About the 24-second mark, what's the next unit coming into the screen?
The Dancing Grannies.
And they had a banner?
Correct. And the woman on the left-hand side of the screen is Virginia Sorensen.
On the left-hand side of the screen, or the left-hand side of the street?
Objection. That was not the question asked. Who the person was.
I'll sustain the objection.
Which unit is this?
This would be Citizens Bank.
Did these participants have a uniform or something that would be recognizable?
Not really uniform, but a couple of ladies got together and wore the same pants and jackets over the top, and then some Santa hats.
And they had this float associated with their unit?
Yes.
Did they march in formation, to your knowledge?
No, just sort of random. They were handing out candy, walking around, and no specific place.
Do you know about how many people are involved with this unit?
Objection irrelevant.
Overruled.
All right, that's the end of that clip. I'd like to show you another clip that's been marked as State's Exhibit number 11 so that we can continue with the parade units, please.
Objection, what is the relevancy?
Your objection is noted. It is overruled. I would note for Mr. Brooks that in addition to being relevant to the charges, it also goes to background and context.
What do you mean by background?
Background to the event. Events that led up to
Like detail?
all of the charges, the reason for why we're here.
Detail background?
It's regarding the parade, sir.
I don't understand, but okay. Don't understand.
Your statement's noted for the record.
You now see front screen of State's Exhibit number 11, correct?
Yes, I do.
And it's upright.
Correct.
Okay. You have seen State's Exhibit number 11 before, correct?
Yes, I have.
Do you believe it's a
Hold
true?
on. There's been an objection. Are you objecting to the question?
I'm objecting to, is that the same video? I don't see the same person that was directly in the camera view when it was sideways. It looks like a totally different video.
It's not been admitted yet. The state's laying a foundation for that, and I'm going to let them continue questioning.
Detective Casey, you have seen State's Exhibit number 11 before, correct?
Yes, I have.
And you believe it's a true and accurate representation of the events of November 21, 2021?
Objection.
Yeah.
Hearsay.
Your objection is noted. It's overruled.
Yes, I do.
All right. Move for admission of number 11 and permission to publish, Your Honor.
Mr. Brooks, any position on the admission of Exhibit
Yes,
11?
I definitely object. This is not the same video that was just attempted to be shown. This is a totally different video.
Your objection is noted. There wasn't much testimony about whatever that prior exhibit was, and I'm going off of his testimony about seeing this particular video clip. There's the still image in front of him that he identified he previously reviewed, and it's accurate, true and accurate. So based on that, your objection is noted, but it is overruled. I'll receive Exhibit 11. Permission to publish is granted.
You strike the last video then that didn't.
The last video wasn't admitted, sir. There were technical issues. They moved on.
Please orient us, Detective Casey.
So we are now a little bit further west on Main Street. This is about maybe 2 blocks west of the last location. And the cross street it would be at is Northwest Barstow Street.
And what unit is shown on the screen at the moment?
This would be the Waukesha Blazers support vehicle, and then the baseball players come shortly behind it.
To your knowledge, did this group walk in any certain formation?
No, they didn't. They walked around. They were also handing out candy, just sort of walking around, mingling with the crowd and themselves.
Were some of the players wearing their baseball jersey?
Yes, they were.
And other individuals just had on like hats and coats and nothing discernible, correct?
Objection. Irrelevant. Everybody had on coats and hats.
Your objections noted. It's overruled.
And we're going to stop it there at about the 2:15 mark. So that's the RE/MAX group going through, correct, sir?
That is correct.
Are those the 8 units that were most directly impacted by Mr. Brooks' actions on the parade route, sir?
Yep.
I do not recognize that name or consent to being called that.
Your objections noted. It's overruled.
Yes, they were.
In addition to that, there were some spectators that were injured. Is that correct?
Correct. There's, I would say, 3 different groups of people, spectators that were sitting on the side of the roadway that were also injured.
At some point, did you and other members of the Waukesha Police Department attempt to identify all the individuals who were injured as a result of Mr. Brooks' actions on the parade route?
Objection. I do not consent to being called that name.
Overruled.
Yes, we did.
About roughly how many people was that?
There are over 60 people that were injured that we identified.
Were you able, through your investigation detective, to determine where along the parade route each of these individuals were located at the time they were injured?
Yes, we were.
And were you able to map that information so that we can present it to this jury?
Yes.
Like to please put up number 15? Detective, do you see State's Exhibit number 15 on the screen?
Not yet. It is up now.
All right. Can you please identify State's Exhibit 15?
This is a map that I put together that identifies the officers that were on the scene, certain locations of interest that people mentioned when they were interviewed. Also identifies the victims and the deceased that died during the parade.
Is this an accurate summary of your investigation, sir?
Yes, it is.
Move to admit number 15 and permission to publish.
Mr. Brooks, any position? Your objections noted. The exhibit is received subject to all of the other events laying the foundation for this are ultimately presented to this jury, but you may publish as well.
The vehicles could continue this way without being stopped.
Okay.
Or the opposite way. And then the flow of the parade came this way down to my location and continued westbound without being obstructed.
Okay. I'm not asking for that to be captured, Your Honor.
Let me ask Mr. Brooks if he's asking that the annotations be captured.
I thought you already ruled that they wouldn't be.
No, that was for that one particular.
We don't need it on this one.
Then it won't be captured. Go ahead and clear.
Through your investigation, were you able to determine who was the first person struck by the defendant's vehicle?
Yes, I was.
And who was that?
Nicole White.
And she was with the RE/MAX group?
Yes.
And where was she when she was struck, if you could show us on the diagram?
She was on West Main Street, just west of Northwest Barstow Street.
If you could please show us more of the bottom of the map, Ms. Gussie.
Hold on, before you move.
Okay.
Any requests to capture that annotation from the state or the defendant?
No.
Mr. Brooks?
Yes, caption it.
What was the last group to be impacted by the defendant's vehicle?
The Catholic Communities of Waukesha.
And have you listed there the names of all the individuals who were injured by the defendant's vehicle related to the Catholic Communities of Waukesha?
Yes, I have.
Overruled.
I don't identify or consent to being called the defendant.
Your objections noted.
All right, thank you. We can take down Exhibit 15, and next I'm going to ask you to please pull up number 12. You've seen this video before, correct?
Yes, I have.
Is it a true and accurate depiction of the way Main Street looked on the morning of November 22, 2021 at about 9:56 a.m.?
Yes, it is.
By now, all of the injured have been removed from the scene, obviously.
Injured and deceased.
Okay, but there's still objects in the roadway?
Correct.
Move to admit number 12 and permission to publish.
Any position by you, Mr. Brooks?
Objection.
Your objections noted. It's overruled.
So right now the drone would be sitting on pretty low to the ground on West Main Street.
All right, please play. And can you pause it here? Was anybody struck in this area?
This would be the area that Nicole White was struck.
Play. And we'll pause it at the 35-second mark. Was anybody struck in this area, sir?
This would be the area of the Waukesha South Band.
Play. And we'll pause it there. What do we see here, sir? Was anybody struck in this area?
This would be the area that Barris Logistics was at.
Play. What's that cross street here?
This would be Gasper Street. And that area there is where there were some spectators that were hit.
Now we've just crossed Gasper.
Correct.
And keep it plain, please, at the 157 mark. What businesses are we seeing here?
The joke shop is on your left and the Waukesha Theater's on your right. That's the area that the Waukesha Blazers were in when they were hit.
And now we're approaching the 5 Points area, sir?
Correct.
Was any group injured in this area?
This is where the Extreme Dance Club was when they were impacted.
That was at 234.
Thank you, ma'am. At the 240 mark here, what's this business on the right?
Objection. Just for the record, who are the people off to the right?
You can question the witness during cross-examination.
Pause it here. Do you see a vehicle in the picture at this point?
Yes, I do.
Do you know what unit that vehicle is associated with?
That's the support vehicle for Citizens Bank.
Is this the area where Jane Kulik was struck and killed?
Yes, just up in front of the vehicle on the right-hand side, there's 2 green hash marks that would be the location that she was found at.
Play, please. There were some kids hurt on the corner there?
Yes, on this corner where the blankets were, there's 3 kids that were sitting there that were impacted.
Now at this point it's about 4:17 and the drone's going to focus in on some skid marks on the roadway, is that right?
That is correct.
After further investigation, did these skid marks have any relevance to this investigation, sir?
We believe they have no relevance to this investigation at all.
But at the time we weren't sure, correct?
Correct.
All right, now we're through that intersection. Did anything of significance occur in this area?
Yes, this is where the Dancing Grannies were. Dancing Grannies support vehicle.
Go ahead and play, please. Pause. Can you identify for us what we see here?
On the left-hand side, there's pavement marking with green paint, and there's some towels that were used for giving medical aid and a lot of blood on the ground.
Do you know who was found at this location?
Yes, I do.
Who was that?
Tamara Durand.
She's a deceased victim from the Grannies?
Yes, she is.
How about on the left-hand side of the video, there's a building that I can read says Karate Studios. Do you see that, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Was another victim of the Dancing Grannies found in that location?
Yes, there was.
And who was found in that position, sir?
Leanna Owens.
Please keep playing the video. Coming up will be the third position for one of the Dancing Grannies who suffered fatal injuries as a result of this incident.
Yes.
Who was found in that location?
Virginia Sorensen.
Continue playing. And what are we approaching here in this area?
We're coming up to the area where the Catholic Charities were impacted.
And now we're getting towards the end of Main Street here where it turns to Wisconsin Avenue.
That's
Now we are past the point where anybody is further struck by the vehicle, correct?
That's correct.
No, nobody was injured in this location.
No, they were not.
What's the significance of this area?
So in this area, when the vehicle that was hitting and killing all these people came up to the bend in the road, it turned to the left, and Officer Schulten was standing there, and he made the decision to use deadly force to attempt to stop the vehicle.
And that's this intersection here that we're seeing where the 2 squad cars are parked?
Yes, it is.
This is the area where Officer Schulten was standing when he fired at the defendant's vehicle?
Yes, it is.
All right, we can go ahead and stop it.
Yeah, we'll be turning to a new topic.
Yeah, actually, I don't have too much more with Detective Casey. I could probably finish my direct in about the next 10 or 15 minutes, Your Honor.
I'll let you finish the direct and we'll reserve cross for Monday morning.
Sir, I want to show you another item that's been marked as Exhibit 141. May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may. I made a few exceptions to that, sir.
Will I be awarded the same?
We'll take that up later.
Sir, can you please identify number 141?
This is a list of everyone that is named victim in this case, which count it refers to, and the group that they are associated with.
Is that a summary of the testimony that you just provided?
Objection. First, are we still looking at the video?
No, we can turn that off. So your objection is that is granted. Do you have an objection to the question that was asked? Okay, keep going.
Yes, it is.
That's a document we created for use at this trial, is that right?
Yes.
Keep track of everybody.
Correct.
And keep the counts all straight. Okay.
There's a lot of information to keep track of.
Move for admission of 141 and, yep, 141. I'm not going to publish that, Your Honor. Just want it in the record.
Mr. Brooks, any position on that?
Is that a document?
Your objection is noted. It's overruled and the court will receive it.
Will I be able to view it?
The copy will be provided to you if it's not within the materials previously.
Show you an item that's been marked as exhibit number 8. What do you see on the screens?
So this is a camera from Randy's Imports.
You've seen this video clip before.
Yes, I have.
Do you believe it's a true and accurate representation of the events of November 21, 2021?
Absolutely.
Move to admit and permission to publish number 8.
Mr. Brooks, any position on that?
What is the relevancy of it?
Is that an objection?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your objection's noted. It's overruled.
So this is the south right here. This would be looking to the north, and White Rock Avenue is in this area here. This here is Main Street.
Right near that arrow that you drew, near the top of the screen, it looks like there's a very bright light at the top of the screen. Do you see that?
The street lights?
No.
Or to the right?
Yep, right there. What's up in that area, sir?
That would be the squad cars that I had with me?
You have the red and blues on?
Correct, on both vehicles.
Okay, and that's what that light is in that area.
Yes.
Now, you scribbled all over this, but can you see yourself?
Not right now.
Not right now. Where do you remember standing?
So if the squad cars were by this circle right here,
Yep.
I would have been like right in this area to the left.
So I'm going to play it through once, and we're just going to watch it, and then I'll ask you what we saw, and we can go back if we need to. Play. Show us, circle where the jury's supposed to be looking right now. And what are we going to see up there?
You should see me walk from the right-hand side to the left-hand side, slow speed at first and then speeding up towards the end.
You are. In other words, you picked up the pace.
Correct. And then shortly after, you will see the red Ford Escape come down the street here and traverse westbound on Main Street. Unfortunately, this black pickup truck is blocking where that happened at. If that pickup truck wasn't there, you would be able to see it.
Okay, play, please. Right there, is that you?
Yeah, that is me.
Okay, 12 seconds. Circle yourself, please. We're paused at 12 seconds. Okay. Okay, go ahead and play, please. There's the red SUV.
Correct.
Okay. That's it for Exhibit 8. I'm going to ask Ms. Gussie to pull up Exhibit 120. Have you seen this photograph before?
Yes, I have.
This is State's Exhibit 120. Do you believe this photograph is a true and accurate representation of the events of November 21, 2021?
Yes, I do.
Tell the jury what it's a picture of.
It's a picture of the Ford Escape that was involved in this incident.
and Darrell Brooks, the defendant, driving the vehicle.
Move to admit 120 and permission to publish.
Object.
Your objection is noted. It's overruled.
I don't consent to being called that name or defendant.
Your objection's noted.
Objection for hearsay as well.
Overruled.
Help the jury see what we're supposed to see. Where is the red SUV? Dumb question.
So it looks like a person that's involved in the band. One of the band people are to your right in the center, and then right in the middle of the screen you see a red vehicle, and then seated at the driver's seat is a gentleman with a white hoodie on.
Appears to be black facial hair, is that correct?
Correct.
Is that what Darrell Brooks looked like as he drove past you just a block or two earlier?
Objection. I do not consent to being called that name. I do not know anyone by that name, nor do I agree to being called that name. And it's hearsay.
It's not hearsay. Your objection's overruled.
Yes, that's the defendant, Darrell Brooks, the person that drove past me and didn't stop when I tried to stop the vehicle.
Is that how he looked as he drove past you?
Yes, it is.
With the hood up?
To be honest with you, I don't remember the hood up when he went past me. It happened very fast. I could only see the outline of his face.
I don't have any other questions for this witness at this time, Your Honor.
Right, Mr. Brooks, I will give you an opportunity to cross-examine, but that will be Monday mornings. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, do not begin your deliberations and discussion of the case until all the evidence is presented and I have instructed you on the law. You are to decide the case solely on the evidence offered and received at trial. All rise for the jury, please. All right, anything else we need to address before we conclude for the weekend from the state?
The state is excusing from its subpoenas, with the court's permission, Officer Phillips, Kyle Edwards, and Holly Berg.
Let's wait to see the witness list on Monday. Mr. Brooks, anything from you at this time?
I'm definitely going to have the subpoenas. Like I said, I would need to, I guess, confer with how to properly get them done and filed in the right fashion.
Mr. Brooks, I've advised you previously, I would be willing to review for completeness. You need to get those to me in a timely fashion. Your witness list is due Monday, and so I expect those subpoenas to be brought with you first thing Monday morning so I can address with you and the state how any of those witnesses who are also listed on the state's witness list, we can address the logistics of that. It's my understanding you have offered for witnesses that are on the state's witness list that if Mr. Brooks names them, and absent, I guess, any objection by you for some lawful reason, you would assist in getting those subpoenas to those individuals.
Yes, and he wouldn't necessarily be limited to our list. We've offered, in addition to that, if there are relevant witnesses and it's reasonable to get them served, that is the southeastern Wisconsin area, we will assist in that, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. That you brought that to my attention, and I didn't quite remember that. So get all your subpoenas together, get your witness list, and the state's offered some assistance in doing that.
I do want to state that I previously touched on that whole topic, that was one of my concerns when I was compiling my witness list was I gonna be calling anybody that they already had on their list. If you recall, I stated that for the record. That was...
You mean witnesses they actually call, or just witnesses who are on the list?
Both.
Well, if you want to question a witness and the witness is called by the state, that will be your opportunity to do that. If you are asking to then have them recalled during your case in chief, we can take that up at a later point in time, but you got to have the subpoenas available, okay?
Yeah, I follow that. I wanted it stated for the record that I had raised that issue because at that time, I still hadn't even gone through the entire witness list from the prosecution. It was 30 plus pages. That's a lot of names.
I agree, Mr. Brooks. There's a lot of names, but I actually extended the filing deadlines. They all have come and passed, but I obviously, in light of you representing yourself, I extended that and have ordered that you file your witness list by Monday. That's how we will address that. Do you have any other issues at this time?
Yes, I do. The statement of particulars that hasn't been responded to by affidavit. The notice of special appearance hasn't been responded to.
I direct your attention to the Barnaby decision, sir. The court's not going to be addressing that topic any further.
So what about the subject matter jurisdiction?
That's an argument that has been debunked repeatedly by the courts in the United States of America, all over the place. It is not recognized as any type of issue that a court needs to address. It is summarily denied.
Can you
Next
show
topic.
proof that it has no relevancy, Your Honor?
I direct you to the Barnaby decision.
Can you show proof of that,
sorry?
Your Honor? Verified?
Give them what?
Can you show a verified affidavit of that?
No. All right, Mr. Brooks, the hearing today is concluded. We'll see everyone back here
So
on
you
Monday
got a
at
judicial
8:30
determination
a.m.
that
We
you
are
will
in
not
recess.
answer that question, Your
Court
Honor?
stepping off the bench.
That is